Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's workshop. So, dolls, today I'm going to share with you how I enhanced a few of my miniatures I really liked a lot, but I had a very strong urge to Gretchen them up. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with them. They're just a little bit plain for my taste, and I want them to look a little bit more vintage. So, I put tape on the mirror part. I probably should have just centered it on the center of the glass, but I didn't. But I'm playing with a few little wooden pieces to see if I can trying to make it look a little bit more ornate and vintage. Now, I had several different little designs for these little ornate pieces, and I kind of struggled because I guess I wanted to have my cake and eat it too because I wanted to use it and have spares. And finally, I decided on this one little central piece because I wanted to use those additional bigger pieces for another project. And after I was solid on the decision to use that central piece, I added a little bit of my Gorilla Wood glue to the back. That might have been Weld Bond glue, but I added some to the back and placed it right in the center of the top of the mirror frame. And I thought that was just enough to add just a little bit more interest and a more interesting focal point. And then I stained the little piece to make the stain color similar to what was on the mirror. And after I did that, I went on to paint the entire thing with my black matte acrylic paint because I really wanted the mirror frame to look old and really vintage. I really don't like things to look really bright and too new. So I felt like a nice thin coat of the solid matte black would be a good undertone for what I want to do in the end. Now, while the brown wooden frame was drying, I went on to work on another piece, which was a lovely item that I purchased from the Ann Arbor Miniature Show last year. And the vendor was actually one of my precious dolls, and I refer to her as Jill O. So I'll leave the name of her business and her contact information in the description if you'd like to have one or some of these lovely framed scriptures in your dollhouse. Now, some of you may wonder why I'm painting this black because I wanted to, again, make it look more vintage. It looked too new to me. So I felt like adding the matte black around the frame would kind of tone down kind of the yellowish tone of the gold that's on it originally. And I wanted the color to be a little bit deeper and warmer. And I want your dolls to be clear that when I enhance miniatures or make changes or alterations to them, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. It's just that I have a preference for certain types of things that go along with the decor and feel and the mood of my dollhouse. So the any type of alterations I do is so that it will blend into the backdrop of my time period, my story, and the feel of my dollhouses. Now here's another lovely framed mirror. This is part of the Aunt Shirley Dollhouse collection, and it was a beautiful piece. I really love the detailing on the frame, but again, I wanted it to look a little bit older. Now, it would have been nice if I had cleaned the mirror, but I didn't, dolls. I'm just using my same matte black acrylic paint to catch some of those high points of the mirrored frame. And again, I like the tone that it's gold, but again, the gold looks a little bit bright to me. So I'm just trying to tone it down and make it look a little bit more worn and aged. And I'm actually considering aging the mirror or reflective part itself to make it look like one of those old Mercury mirrors. But let me stay focused and finish the project at hand. Now, in addition to the frames, I have a few light fixtures that are that lovely brass color so many of the LED battery powered lights have. And although I really like it, it just looks too bright, shiny, and new. When I see that really bright brass, it just really gives 80s. And that's not the feeling I'm going for. The setting of my dollhouse is more or less somewhere between 1901 and 1910, loosely up to 1919. And yeah, the bright brass really just doesn't fit in very well with that. So adding the matte black really added some time to the piece and made it look a lot more old world rather than modern, which is going to help me create the warm, cozy look that I'm looking for. So I liked the look so much, I went on to add it to the other sconce, and then I started looking around for other items that I could add the same finish to. Now, after the matte black acrylic paint was dry on all the pieces, I added some antique gold rub and buff, which dolls you know is my favorite. If you've been watching me or following me any amount of time, rub and buff has several different finishes, but like I said, the antique gold is my favorite. So I probably should have put this on a rag or a towel, but I just squeezed out a little bit on my finger and I swiped it over all the parts that I wanted to have gold on it. And it really started to look like I had envisioned in my mind. I think it looked a lot more old world, more vintage, more antique. And I really felt very happy and satisfied with the finished look. So I went on to do the same thing with the sconces, adding the antique gold rub and buff to the high points, just kind of swiping it so that it would catch the high parts of the metal and leave the other parts dark and shadowy. And when it was done, it looked a lot warmer and cozier than the bright brass did to me. So let me show you what I did to a lamp I had. Now, dolls, this lamp was a LED candlestick lamp, and the globe part or the shade was a globe overhead light, but the original one broke, so I used it to cover up the candlestick and turned it into a lamp. And I really liked the look of it, so I did the very same treatment on the body of the lamp with the black paint and the rub and buff, and I really like it a lot more than I did before just as the candle. So let me show you really quick something else I enhanced. Now these are some of those, like I call them like glass globes. They kind of go over things, but I turned it into sort of what I call a candle stand. Let me show you what I mean. When I purchased it, it had a jump ring on it and a hoop, and it sits on the bottom like this. But I thought it would look really pretty, sort of like with as a hurricane candle holder. And so I used a bead cap on the bottom to be the stand and used my Loctite glue to glue it together. And here I am showing you in this frame. I did the same thing to the other one because I had two of them and it's drying. I'm using some of the little glass jars to hold it upright until it dries securely. Now, there's several different glues that may work for that, but I use, again, the Loctite Super Glue Gel. And after I let it set securely, this is what I have. And I think that'll look lovely on a dining room table or even on the fireplace mantle. So while the finishes on my sconces, the lamp, and the candle holders were all drying, I added some of the antique gold rub and buff to my remaining picture and mirror frames. Again, just using it to hit the highlights and to bring out the beautiful details of these lovely frames. And when it was all said and done, I was really, really happy with the changes that I had made to my items. I just loved the frame scripture. And then I had the Aunt Shirley mirror, which I didn't do a lot to, just added a little bit of the rub and buff to it. So I hope this video encourages and inspires you dolls to update and enhance your miniatures as you see fit to make your lovely items that you already have exactly what you want them to be. I just want to thank you dolls for watching today, and if you enjoyed this video, definitely let me know in the comments. Also like, share, and subscribe, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time on Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye bye now, dolls.